One thing a lot of women complain about in their romantic relationship is the level of emotional labor that they render to their significant other that is often never reciprocated. I come to a realization that women are the ones that enable these kind of relationships. I see that a lot of women are unaware of the fact that they are codependent in nature. This is something that I believe stems from the way that women have been socialized in the society and also from our natural abilities. If you do not know what a codependent relationship is, I have an article where I spoke about this in details, explaining why people are codependent in nature and some of the signs to look out for you to know if you're codependent or if you're currently in a codependent relationship. But anyway, the gist of it is that in a codependent relationship, one person is sacrificing more because the other person requires more attention or psychological support. Let's go back to why I believe that women are the enablers of this one-sided relationship. There is something called the female ego, where women take pride in nurturing their partner or people around them. This ego is fostered through socialization. I mean, when you ask someone, what kind of woman would you like? The manual of a good woman is a woman that gives herself, who sacrifices for her partner or for her kids. More like a prime example of what a codependent relationship means, the sense that you give more of yourself to the other people in the relationship to prove your worth as a good woman. And if you also talk about the natural part of it, where I spoke about earlier, is the sense that some women are innately more nurturers than men. So when you combine both sides together, you can see where the ego comes from. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's not a bad thing to be a good nurturer, but it becomes a problem when you begin to define and determine your self-worth by your ability to nurture the people around you. A prime example is when a woman dates a bad guy or a guy that she's like is not so good, with the idea that she's going to change him. This is something that is really common, and I'm sure when you hear about people who were young back then and they dated bad guys, this is actually where it stems from. There is the idea that you are going to be the woman to change him, and even if that is not what is at the back of your mind at that moment, when that behavior begins to subside in that man, you take pride in that and you say, I'm the one that caused him, that made him actually to stop that behavior. So that is the aspect of the female ego, and that's how it wears its ugly head. But in this kind of relationship, things can go south very easily. So even if you guys start on a very great part where he's changing and you're taking pride in what you're doing, very soon he's going to go back to his bad behavior. So for example, let's say you're dating someone that drinks a lot. You guys start to date, and for a while you realize that the man has actually reduced his alcohol intake, and you take pride in it and say, okay, maybe I'm rubbing off on him, and the man also is happy that you are rubbing off on him, and you're happy about that because finally you can be with the king that you knew that he was meant to be. But after a while he goes back to his drinking and alcoholism. But instead of deciding to leave and say, this is a habit that I cannot put up with anymore, I have to go because it's taking too much of my energy, you tell yourself that you actually need to work harder, because this is something that you have done before, so you can do it again. So instead of leaving, you say, I need to work harder to ensure that I rescue him. And that's what I was coming to, the rescue syndrome that women have, that's paired with the nurturing aspect of women. So you say, I need to rescue him from whatever he's going through. He needs me. We've heard that so many times, that the man needs me, but it's not necessarily need, it's your ego that is talking here. So for you to actually rescue this man that you believe needs your help, you need to be more understanding, you need to be more compassionate, you need to be more nurturing, to actually rescue him. And the man is going to take advantage of that. And this is not a man trait, it's actually a human trait, in the sense that if I'm doing something bad and you're not necessarily rebuking me, but you're trying to nurture me and tell me that I should stop, and you're doing it in a very empathetic way, I'm going to continue because I know that you're going to be there no matter what. So even when you're frustrated, you're tired and you want to leave, you cannot leave because right there at the back of your mind, you feel like this man needs you, he needs me, I can't go anywhere. And you begin to ask yourself, what kind of woman would I be if I leave this man at his time of need? There's also this saying of, you reap your reward kind of mentality that they have in the society right now. So we see that a lot of women can decide to be in that relationship to help the man because the man needs her, because at the back of her mind, by the time she rescues him, she's going to reap the reward of her hard work. So it's a very I don't want to use the word complex, but it's a very dynamic situation that women find themselves into. And it's not only romantic relationships. Sometimes when we even look at family, mother and son, we see that a lot of women, a lot of mothers are in codependent relationships with their sons. We see women who give their sons all the emotional support that they need, that the boys are even unaware of the things that the women are going through. And I'm sure when you're on Twitter, you can see all the gender wars that are going on regarding this issue, in the sense that men say, I want to find a woman like my mother, and women come out and say, no one wants to be like your mother because you don't really understand what your mother went through. So that is why we always have those gender battles, because people don't really see things from each other's perspective. So the mother would have showered this boy with so much emotional support, and that the boy is unaware of what the woman is really going through. So let me give you a very clear example that I always use all the time. Salah. The women have to wake up really early to cook for Salah, and you hear men saying, wow, I really appreciate my wife or my mother. Wow, all the praises that they shower the women with, that they are doing so well, it can never be me, they're trying. And the female ego loves that, because it strokes their ego. Yes, I'm a nurturer, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm doing exactly what I'm called to do. But at that moment, that is not what she needs. She might want the, the ego stroking praises, but what she needs at that moment might be for you to actually step into the kitchen and help her with some of the things that she's doing. But she's not going to tell you that, because again, most women are passive aggressive, which is another, element of the female ego that I might talk about in another video. But with passive aggressiveness, it means that the woman is not going to tell you what she's feeling or going through at that moment. She's going to take it and soak it all in, and just agree with the female praises and the stroking of her ego that you're giving her. And even sometimes when you decide to help and you just, okay, let me help you do something, the female ego comes and she's like, no, don't worry, because what she wants at that moment is for you to say, no, let me help you. Demand that you actually want to help, even if she has refused for you to help the first time, because the female ego will not let her just accept your help immediately. But men don't just demand again, they just say, okay, fine, all right, and they go where they're going. And that also fosters the passive aggressiveness, the resentment that the women hold for either their sons, their husbands, or their partners at that moment. So I believe it's more like a double-edged sword, where women need to learn to be selfish and men need to learn to not be so selfish, because I think that women are not selfish enough. That's the honest truth here. It's not like men are too selfish. Well, sometimes they are too selfish, but it's not like men are incredibly selfish. It's the fact that women are not selfish enough. You need to keep some for yourself. You need to know when to walk away, especially when something doesn't suit your soul, regardless of if it strokes your ego. So when we women, you complain and say, this man is always asking for my help, he's always, anytime there's something going on, he comes to me, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, why can't he ask about myself? I want to ask you, do you also derive pleasure from giving that help? Because underneath all the hurt, all the anger and the tiredness, there's a certain level of pleasure there that you derive, knowing that the man is going to come to you for help, that you are the one that's going to nurture him back to peace. Sometimes this could actually lead to more toxicity in your relationship. I'm going to use myself as an example. I say this a lot. Remember when I was much younger and I was really codependent, I was incredibly passive aggressive, and I would be in a relationship with a man that wasn't necessarily interested in my own situation, in my own problems. And because I was passive aggressive, I couldn't tell him what I was going through. I couldn't tell him that, dude, I need you to ask me about myself. And what I would do to get back is actually say something hurtful that bruises maybe an insecurity, because again, as nurturers, you have intimate details about this man, so you have it at the palm of your hands and you can use it for your own pleasure, which is what a lot of women do, which comes from the passive aggressiveness. And I'll talk about this maybe in another video or in an article where I explain how passive aggressiveness is more of a disguise for another level of manipulation. But with the passive aggressiveness that I have, I was unable to tell my partner that, you know what, I don't really like what you're doing. So I would say things that were really, really hurtful to him, because I knew that I was the one that was going to actually nurture him back to peace. So it was like a vicious cycle where it becomes a power game, a power play, where you do yours and I do mine in my own way, in a manipulative kind of way. I'm not so direct, it's covert manipulation. But this is actually what I wanted to talk about today: the female ego, codependent relationship, and emotional labor that women prefer, and how they themselves are enablers of that kind of one-sided relationship. Female ego oftentimes tricks us into staying in painful relationships, because it deceives us into believing that the level of the threshold of pain, of sacrifice that we can give in our relationship is a clear determinant of our womanhood. That is what proves if we are good women, but that is not true. It doesn't prove anything. You need to break away from things that just pleases your ego but doesn't suit your soul, because by the time you've nurtured every single person, what time do you have to nurture yourself? Well, that's all we have for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to hear what you think about the female ego, codependency, one-sided relationship, emotional labor, and how do you think these has actually played in your own relationship. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's vlog. My name is Lolo Cynthia. Do not forget to read the article that actually goes in depth in this topic, because I'm just brushing the surface. The article will go in depth. Do not forget to read that. I'm going to put the link below. And thank you again so much. My name is Lolo Cynthia, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.